Well, good morning, guys. How you doing? It's Sean here from Voice from the Dirt Road. Let me tell you out the top, man. I don't know where I caught it yesterday, but I caught a cold. I've been taking some medicine this morning already. But we're going to fight our way through this show and going to fight our way through the day because we got a lot of things to get done today. Hey, we have a great show for you today. It's going to be a lot of information. However, from the farm community or people that are following the farm community, I think it's going to be very important that you pay attention and take this information and share with others, because a lot of things going to be happening here latter part of February and then also into March. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about the big fire that's going on out west, that's still going keep currently going on. We're going to talk about crop payments, and we're also going to talk about the farm bill and what's happening with that. So this episode, you got a lot of good information. But before we even get into all those things, I want to kind of just give you an update on our farm, on my farm, because I think y'all guys know, I was born and raised on a farm in Southwest Georgia, went off to the military, then came back home. Colin and I, we bought this farm up here in Northwest Georgia, where it was pretty much a horse farm, and we converted it from horses to cattle. That meant that we had to change all the fencing out. We had to do a lot of things on infrastructure. But the key thing we had to do is improve the pastures. So one of the things that I want to talk about, I'm part of, and I encourage every farmer out there, regardless if you have 2 years of experience or 50 years of experience, is to find your mentor, or in my case, what we have is kind of like a little cohort of 5 or 6 different farmers. We're all in the cattle industry, kind of all over Georgia. Most of us up north, but then kind of, I would say our mentor, our instructor, the person that we bounce our questions off of is actually in South Georgia. But the cool thing is, last night with everything that was going on here in Northwest Georgia, I got home and I got a chance to get back with my cohort and settle down and say, hey, what are your goals for next year on your farm? We talked about soil. What are we doing for our pastures? All those kind of things. And one of the discussion points is, if you are trying to grow good grass in your pastures, you need to make sure that you're doing a soil sample. And then when that soil sample comes back, the key spot to grow good grass and be able to support your cattle operation is somewhere between 6.2 and 6.8. When we got this farm, we were at 5.1. Yeah, we were growing a whole bunch of weeds and everything else. And then 2 years ago and a year and a half ago, we put out lime, 2 tons to the acre, and now it's moved up to 5.9. And I think this year when I do a soil test, I'll be close to 6 something. So we're moving in the right direction. But I just wanted to share that with you because everybody that's part of my cohort is at different levels. So, and I learn a lot from my peers, and it's good to be able to bounce some things off other farmers and say, where are you getting your lime from? Where are you getting your fertilizer from? Should you use regular fertilizer, or should you use chicken manure, chicken litter? These were some of my questions last night, and I got them answered, and now I'll be able to move forward and continue to improve our farm. But the cool thing is just yesterday we actually got our brand new hats. So if you have seen me around town or around the community, I usually have on, Red Hill. I got on all kind of other cattlemen's hats and stuff. That's awesome, because what I've learned from those guys, you have to build your own brand. You have to make sure that people know that you exist. So I'm so happy that Colin and our farm, 07 Farms, Red Angus, we just got our hats, and as we continue to try to improve our farm, we're not 100% sure if we're just going to stay cow-calf operation or we're going to get on to the meat side of it. But as time go on, you'll start seeing where we pass out our hats, and I hope to see people wearing hats all the way out in Oklahoma and up in New York City when they start talking about beef and quality beef. Hey, we want to come down there to the 07 Farms and buy some cattle or buy some meat. So lot more to go on that, but I just wanted to put that out there. But this was one of those things that a few months ago we talked about in our cohort, is how do you market your farm? And everybody's talking about, hey, I want to get the word out there. How do you do it? And one of the ways that you can do it is actually hats. We don't sell these hats. We'll be giving them away at social events that we do. And just like I wear Red Hill and other hats, I look for people to be wearing my hat, and somebody to say, hey, tell me about that red 07 Farms down there in Rockmart, Georgia. So that's just some great news, and I encourage everybody to get there. Hey, let's get the stool up, because we got a lot of things to talk about today. All right. The stool today, as everybody know, if you're not new or whatever, but the stool today, we're going to talk about basically every leg of this stool today. We're going to talk a little bit about livestock. We're going to talk a lot about row crop and specialty crops. Specialty crops is like I said, it falls upon our forestry. And then on top of that, we're even going to give you an update on the farm bill, what's currently going on, and follow up. So as a local farmer, as a farmer, these things are also important to me. And then the other piece of it is all of these things are feeding back into the USDA. So the USDA is very busy right now, a lot of different things going on. And as a farmer, or as somebody who's helping a farmer try to keep the paperwork together, you could easily get confused on when do you need to fill out paperwork versus when do you supposed to receive an answer? Did you get qualified, or when do you supposed to receive a payment? Many farmers right now are struggling, trying to just keep up with all those things. But the key piece that I would always tell everybody, stay in touch with your NRCS office and make sure you have a great working relationship with them so that you can stay up to speed on exactly where you're at on your particular farm. But before we jump into all of that, right now, this time of season, we're, depending on where you're at, we're coming out of the winter, try to move into the spring, but we're not 100% there. So it is some places around the United States right now that is very dry. Everything is dead. And the worst thing that could happen is you get a fire going. And right now out west, we have a wildfire that's going. It's called the Range Road Fire. This fire here is as of right now, over 300,000 acres have actually been burned across Oklahoma and South Kansas. So let's just pause right there, play the video, and then I'll come back and talk some details on the other side.
That winter storm, high winds are fueling at least a half dozen wildfires in the plains. One fire spanning Kansas and Oklahoma has burned an area bigger than the city. The governors have declared states of emergency. Jason Allen reports.
This massive inferno doubling in size in just 24 hours in the Oklahoma Panhandle.
Man, this is a big fire.
Burning more than 283,000 acres. Video shows the columns of smoke driving away a herd of cattle as firefighters race to fight the blaze, spreading across state lines into southern Kansas.
This area has already been scorched. You can see the marks on the pavement and get an idea just how hot and fast the fire moved through this area. And there are still plenty of areas of dry brush that haven't burned.
Northwest of Oklahoma City, this fire has burned nearly 2,000 acres. Luckily, no homes have been destroyed.
Everybody throws in and does what they need to do to make it work and save property, and life, and that's what counted.
Meanwhile, two large wildfires are growing outside Amarillo, Texas, the biggest in that state, now scorching at least 12,000 acres. The winds finally becoming safe enough for airplanes to fly over and dump fire retardant.
And they said my house isn't affected by the fire as of yet, so we're hoping that it stays that way.
Yeah, everyone's hoping that. Firefighters making progress, but this fire's still burning on the ground, up in the treetops, too. And red flag warnings have been extended here in Oklahoma through this evening. Nate?
Yeah, one of the things that that is super bad. One of the things that came out in that particular video, it has been unfortunately, some livestock and people have lost their houses. But the other piece of that story is this, that people came together, farmers came together, and based on the farmers, based on the volunteer firefighters, and based on the fire departments all around the area, they don't have it contained right now. Right now, when we look at my notes, it's only 15 to 20% contained. as of right now, but guess what? They're still fighting it. And what the gentleman said in there, everybody came together. And I know here in Northwest Georgia, as a farmer, I always keep on the back of my tractor pretty much a device that helps with fire breaks and all those kind of things. Because a few years ago, we did see where a pasture caught on fire here, and we all had to go out there. As I'm not a volunteer firefighter, I want to join and get trained up, but we all went out there and stopped the fire before it got crazy here in Polk County. So that's we'll have more information on it, but hopefully they can get that fire under control here real quickly, because guess what? It is clearly destroying the grazed land. So that's going to affect as we start moving further down the road. We always talk about the crop. I mean, a cattle herd growing. It's going to be kind of hard for it to grow if you don't actually have any grass. And also on top of that, I think it's had some forestry that has actually been hit. So we'll continue to look at this very closely and see what actually happens out there. So let me just look at my notes. That was our fire report. The next thing I want to talk about, and the reason why I don't want to think that I'm rushing, but I don't want to take too much time this morning, because we do have one or two videos that is a little bit longer, but I will tell you they are very important to our audience, and I want to make sure that we give you time enough to have it. And then on top of that, when we actually publish this on YouTube and other channels, we will make sure that we play the entire video so that you can see it. So the next thing that we're going to discuss here real quickly is when it comes to FBA. At the end of the day, we're going to talk about, Shelly, did I mess it up? Are we talking about the Farm Bill, or are we talking about, yeah, with the Farm Bill correct now? Is that correct, Shelly? Give me a thumbs up. All right. Yep. So let's move into it, and I'll talk about it on the back end.
We now know how much farmers will be getting from USDA under the $11 billion Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. I'm Michelle Roy Clinton has the day off. The agency releasing the per acre rates on the last day of 2025. As you can see on your screen, for corn, it works out to $44.36 per acre. Soybeans, $30.88 per acre. Wheat, $39.35. And cotton receiving one of the highest per acre rates at $117.35. Now we have the complete list of payment rates on our website at agweb.com. And while the aid is seen as welcome news, several ag groups say longer-term economic certainty is needed. Yeah,
you're exactly right there. As you know, we've been talking about this bridge payment supposed to be coming. It is coming. What I know and what I understand, it should be here next week, the end of February. We do have access to a lot of row crop farmers, and I will be talking to them to find out that they actually receive the payment. The key piece there is what I would pass on to every farmer out there or family member that's helping farmers out is this is the week that you reach out to your NRCS office and potentially other offices and just say, hey, where are we at? Is a payment coming? Do you have my bank account? Because it's not a check that comes to your house. It's deposited directly into your bank account. So you need to just make sure you got all your records up to date. One of the key pieces that I want people to know, and I might have said it, but I've said it again, we're expecting to get the payments on February 28th. So I think that's next week. And those payments will be based on reports that came out of 2025. Key piece there is your farm had to be registered in the system. And in addition to that, you didn't have to have crop insurance or any of those kind of things. So don't want to get into too much details, but this is a one-time payment. But as plenty farmers are saying right now, or plenty experts are saying right now, is that this $11 billion that's coming out of the administration is not going to be enough, and they might need to come with another bridging strategy. But we'll see what plays out. We got to get through the first one first before we can even start talking about the second one. So I just say let's keep our eyeballs on that and see what's going on. like I said, it's a lot of things going on in agriculture this week. And one of those things that's going on in agriculture is, guess what? On February 13th, the Agriculture Committee in the House actually just released the text of the brand new Farm Bill. We've been talking about this, and let me just put that up and let's talk about it a little bit. All right, as you can see there, this is what the new Farm Bill, if it actually is just in committee, guys. I want to make sure that everybody understand that this is not law. It is just in committee. It just came out of the Agriculture Committee. The name of it is Farm, Food, and National Security Act of 2026. It's just a draft. The draft will be out on February 13th. When it comes out on February 13th, we will get a copy of it. I will personally read it. And then from reading it, we'll come back on that following show whenever February 13th is, and we'll talk about it in great detail. And if we can also get an expert on, we'll try to do that also so that everybody clearly understands it. One thing I already know that's in the Farm Bill that I got to get a better understanding on, because it will affect everybody around the United States, but it will affect us here greatly here in Northwest Georgia. And inside that Farm Bill, they're discussing, and again, this is just a proposal, but they're discussing that the EPA, let me get my notes right, that the EPA will set the standard when it comes to chemicals that a state will have to allow farmers or whoever to use. The key piece that we're set up now is EPA set something, but the individual states can actually put more restrictions on it. The key piece there, they're trying to say, no, the federal government is going to make the standard, and it's going to be a flat standard across the entire United States. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. But the reason why I bring that to your attention is because I think so many of you that live here in Northwest Georgia clearly understands that we actually have a big issue when it comes to the EPA, when it comes to forever chemicals from things that have actually happened in the past. So this is something I'm going to be looking at very closely in this Farm Bill, because it could take us in the right direction, but guess what? It could take us in the wrong direction and make things even worse here in Northwest Georgia. So I want to make sure that we look at that closely. And as I transition here, this video here is getting you ready for Monday. Because on Monday, we're going to take the time and we're going to do a special show. The show is going to be at 7 o'clock on Monday night. My team will advertise it the whole 9 yards, but we will have a panel. And on that panel, we're going to be discussing PFAS and what is currently going on in this current mock-up of the Farm Bill when it comes to chemicals and who regulates them and all those kind of things could have great effect on us here in Northwest Georgia when it comes to PFAS, how we get it cleaned up, who's doing what and when. So, Shelly, can you play the PFAS video? This video, guys, is a little bit long. I think it's about 3.5 minutes, but please stick with me. Watch the whole thing, because come Monday, we're going to have a panel that's going to discuss these particular things. We'll discuss the Farm Bill, but we will discuss what's currently happening on the ground here from Dalton to Rome, Georgia. So, Shelly, please play that play.
Dalton is known as the carpet capital of the world. This is a town that lives and breathes the carpet industry.
There are dozens of carpet mills located there. And at these carpet mills, there's a dyeing process where they put the color on the carpets. Well, when they do that, they also add chemicals. The PFAS was in these chemicals that provide stain resistance. So PFAS got into the water because when that washes off the carpets, it ended up going into the drains, to the local utility, and ultimately ending up in the river water.
For much of the past year, a consortium of journalists from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Charleston Post and Courier, and AL.com in Alabama, along with the Associated Press and Frontline, have been investigating the carpet industry's use of products that contained chemicals known as PFAS, even amid warnings of their accumulation in human blood and possible health effects.
We knew already that there was an environmental crisis unfolding in Northwest Georgia. The story of responsibility and who should be held accountable is basically a finger-pointing game between the chemical industry, the carpet industry, and others.
There's a couple things I want to check in here. First,
The team reviewed thousands of pages of documents and court depositions
I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me.
and interviewed former regulators and industry insiders, as well as doctors, scientists,
Extract PFAS from the sample.
and people who have the kinds of illnesses that researchers have linked to PFAS
We
contamination.
think it's affecting your liver.
What took it to the next level for us and what drew our attention is that there were clear lines of accountability for this contamination and a clear need to really understand why things are the way they are up in Northwest Georgia.
The carpet industry has long insisted it's not to blame for PFAS getting into the environment, and argued that chemical companies obscured the risks and assured them that the products they were supplying were safe. But the recently reviewed records also show that executives from the two largest carpet companies, Shaw and Mohawk, were getting warnings about potential harms dating back decades. And with little regulation until recently, the team found that for years, both the companies and their suppliers were able to legally switch among stain-resistant products that contained different types of PFAS.
we can't do this story without industry's perspective.
You want to just update us on where we are with data?
Most of the testing up in Northwest Georgia is completed, but the rest of the state we still are looking at. Downstream of Dalton and into Alabama, we've estimated that there's approximately hundreds of thousands, 200,000+ people who get their drinking water from the surface waters that originate with the Conasauga River.
The carpet companies say they stopped using any kind of PFAS in U.S. production in 2019. But for years, the compounds ended up in the environment and take decades or more to break down. These so-called forever chemicals are routinely tested in the local drinking water at levels the EPA now considers unsafe. Today, there are lawsuits against both carpet and chemical companies, and uncertainty and feelings of betrayal are boiling across the region.
We pay for poison in our water.
Communities are worried about their drinking water, and local governments say the problem is too vast for them to fix alone.
It really is still a crisis that's not fully understood.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna dive into this on Monday. This is an agriculture issue. This is a people issue. This is a every generation issue. And I've seen PFAS contamination when we lived up in Michigan, and I it's not easy. It's not going to be something easy to fix or whatever. But I think it's important that we have this discussion and try to figure out what are the next steps. I want to make sure I clearly understand it, because like we started the show today, I was talking about my farm and all those kind of things. My farm is not affected. However, I don't live that far away from Rome, Georgia. So just because I'm not affected don't mean I'm supposed to go stick my head in the sand and say, okay, it's not affecting me. No. We need to address this. We need to get a handle on, what could be done, and then for us to clean up, and then who or what organizations need to be held accountable. And the gentleman was right. People are paying for bad drinking water. So we're gonna, like I said, on Monday at 7:00, Monday night, 7:00, we're going to actually have a panel where we're going to be discussing this. But your homework is this. It's not usually, I don't usually give out homework, but today I want to give out homework. That video that we just showed you, we just played, I think, about 3 minutes. I think it's roughly about 45 minutes to an hour. I would ask you, we're going to post that on the page. I would ask you to take the time to look at the entire thing so that when we have our panel, you can come up and ask questions and everybody's up to speed at exactly where we at. Because this PFAS issue is, I would go and say, is probably one of the #1 issues that's affecting Northwest Georgia, because yes, affordability is out there, and yes, all these kind of things. But if you're not living, and your next generation is not living, and the generation after that is not living, then we got some big problems. So I just can't sit here like a bunk on a log and say it's just going to go away. I need to get involved and try to help in any kind of way I possibly can. And this show here, Voices from the Dirt Road, is supposed to talk directly to farmers, supposed to be a way that farmers can get the word out. And I know too many farmers that's in that region that right now their farms are contaminated. They can't sell the meat. They're not sure on the water piece. So I need to make sure I do the right thing and discuss what's actually happened right here in the part of Georgia that I live in. So that's where we're going to be. That's the show for today. Hopefully it wasn't too long, but you do have homework to actually look at that entire thing. Is a very good documentation show. So with that, hey, my cup is empty. That's the end of the show. If you see me out there somewhere today, say hi, and I'll be out and about, because I know I got to go back up to Rome and talk with some farmers. That's going to be great. And then I got to go some other places and talked about some things that are happening in agriculture. So let's have a great day. And hey guys, keep farming.